So yes, if you just want to kind of talk us through it. In terms of like, and then we'll me and Dave or the rest of the group feel free to ask Keir any questions in terms of about his site and how it kind of came together. And then me and Dave will kind of chip in. So right. Just asking you things related to the brief, really.
Okay. I chose out of the various choices for the brief, I chose option number 3, which was a coffee shop. I chose that because I thought it was the sort of most straightforward topic to choose that I couldn't really get lost in, because I knew there was quite a possibility of going off on one about some imaginary coffee shop. So also bearing that in mind, I used lorem ipsum, so I didn't have to write any spiel about coffee shops. I began my work by making a mock-up of it on paper and did a bit of brainstorming about it. I then went on to make a mock-up in Photoshop where I got to sort of define a few ideas about my aesthetics of what I wanted to do with it. From there I went on to make the banner. Do I have to go on about the name at all or anything like that?
Yeah, just free,
yeah, Abyssinia beans. Coffee was invented cultivated first in North Africa, which is Abyssinia, so I thought it was a nice thing. There's a bit of a map of it there to go into my banner. Then once I'd made my banner in Photoshop, I also made 5 other banner headers to be remote rollovers for the buttons to relate to the topics of what the various pages were, so you could just sort of like over them like coffee, some coffee beans, a sandwich, that sort of thing.
Just flip through them again, Keir.
So coffee, some coffee beans, food, a sandwich, when as in the opening times and stuff, where, the location, how, be in contact. I wanted to get all those things sort of unified and follow the same kind of red and black and white colour scheme, but I didn't actually have time to mess around with that too much before I had to move on with onto the next thing. So once I've made those banners and the main banner, I exported that into image ready. At this point it was important to make sure to bear in mind the dimensions of the banner, which was I think 960 pixels. I found working with tables really problematic, thinking in only really one dimension, until I started thinking of it in a sort of bizarre concertina thing that you had to define one thing and then everything else you could kind of stretch out as a net. So the banner defines the sort of width of the page. As is shown on my mock-up, I did intend to have a sort of border of coffee beans. It was made 960, so it would fit on the smallest monitors, and then any larger monitors it would have some visual interest, but that's not there.
So what's the main kind of, I think you kind of mentioned your banner up at the top, what's the main kind of interactive element to your website then?
The main interactive element is remote rollovers for the buttons.
Is there any other means of navigation apart from in the header?
Well, I was intending to have these buttons down at the bottom, which I understand is a sort of website convention. I'm not sure if they do work. I can't remember. Yeah, there's no, that's something that don't pay attention to, man behind the camera sort of thing.
Don't worry too much about that, Keir.
Yeah, so there's that as well. So when you scroll down to the bottom of the page, they're just overstates and Yeah.
So what you designed your kind of links in terms of getting them to change colour?
I did that in Image Ready. I didn't use Flash or anything like that. Just
and then
sort
you
of
bits
slicing
at the
things up.
bottom I'm presuming CSS.
No, I don't think they are CSS. The bits that are CSS are the headers and stuff, just changing the tags on things.
So how would you reckon you kind of combat it on your site if somebody went on there with kind of site problems or anything like that? You kind of want to kind of implementing that as part of your site?
Yeah, all the images and the buttons have, is it alt tags? No, not alt tags. They have names. The only thing that I was a bit confused about would be the map on the where page, because that just says map. Whereas if someone, I suppose it's just a technical thing, but maybe it'd be better if I had a description.
There's not much information on there. It's always going to be hard to kind of put that as kind of alternative text. You couldn't put every kind of street name on there realistically.
I was also intending some of that Lorem Ipsum would in reality be an address, so I suppose that would read out to whoever.
Okay. We're not going to go into this in massive detail, so don't worry that I'm going to ask about every individual component. But just going into the CSS, just a tiny bit here. Is there any other parts of your website that were styled using CSS apart from what appears to be headings?
I think the picture placeholders may have been, but I can't remember at this point.
Well,
I didn't really utilise CSS very much, to be honest.
Okay. So you might consider it. So what would you say is the main kind of impact level then on your website?
Well, I tried to keep it sort of, in the brief it says that they want a warm, friendly atmosphere, so I tried to reflect that with the palette of colours, browns, reds and blacks and sort of warm things going on. But I also kept the text clear by having a lot of white space and stuff. I tried to keep it as simple and straightforward as possible, and I thought it'd be better rather than having a home page have an about and stuff, so I'm not sure whether that would make it harder or easier to navigate, but I think you get a pretty good idea of what the different pages are about.
Anybody else got any questions for Keir?
I think it's a nice site.
It's really nice kind of strong imagery on there. So is Abyssinia being something which is pre-existing?
No, it's just fiction. I could have gone off and gone on about. It's just made up for the sake of the project.
Great.